Welcome to One Chapter, One Thought. I'm Pastor Chris from Lincroft Bible Church in New Jersey, and every weekday I read one chapter of the Bible and offer one brief devotional thought. Today's reading is from the book of Genesis, chapter 18. The Lord appeared again to Abraham near the oak grove belonging to Mamre. One day Abraham was sitting at the entrance of his tent during the hottest part of the day. He looked up and noticed 3 men standing nearby. When he saw them, he ran to meet them and welcomed them, bowing low to the ground. "My lord," he said, "if it pleases you, stop here for a while. Rest in the shade of this tree while water is brought to wash your feet. And since you've honored your servant with this visit, let me prepare some food to refresh you before you continue on your journey." "All right," they said, "do as you have said." So Abraham ran back to the tent and said to Sarah, "Hurry, get 3 large measures of your best flour, knead it into dough, and bake some bread." Then Abraham ran out to the herd and chose a tender calf and gave it to his servant, who quickly prepared it. When the food was ready, Abraham took some yogurt and milk and the roasted meat, and he served it to the men. As they ate, Abraham waited on them in the shade of the trees. "Where is Sarah, your wife?" the visitor asked. "She's inside the tent," Abraham replied. Then one of them said, "I will return to you about this time next year, and your wife Sarah will have a son." Sarah was listening to this conversation from the tent. Abraham and Sarah were both very old by this time, and Sarah was long past the age of having children. So she laughed silently to herself and said, "How could a worn-out woman like me enjoy such pleasure, especially when my master, my husband, is also so old?" Then the Lord said to Abraham, "Why did Sarah laugh? Why did she say, 'Can an old woman like me have a baby?' Is anything too hard for the Lord? I will return about this time next year, and Sarah will have a son." Sarah was afraid, so she denied it, saying, "I didn't laugh." But the Lord said, "No, you did laugh." Then the men got up from their meal and looked out toward Sodom. As they left, Abraham went with them to send them on their way. "Should I hide my plan from Abraham?" the Lord asked. "For Abraham will certainly become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth will be blessed through him. I singled him out so that he will direct his sons and their families to keep the way of the Lord by doing what is right and just. Then I will do for Abraham all that I have promised." So the Lord told Abraham, "I have heard a great outcry from Sodom and Gomorrah because their sin is so flagrant. I am going down to see if their actions are as wicked as I have heard. If not, I want to know." The other men turned and headed toward Sodom, but the Lord remained with Abraham. Abraham approached him and said, "Will you sweep away both the righteous and the wicked? Suppose you find 50 righteous people living there in the city. Will you still sweep it away and not spare it for their sakes? Surely you wouldn't do such a thing, destroying the righteous along with the wicked. Why, you would be treating the righteous and the wicked exactly the same. Surely you wouldn't do that. Should not the judge of all the earth do what is right?" And the Lord replied, "If I find 50 righteous people in Sodom, I will spare the entire city for their sake." Then Abraham spoke again. "Since I have begun, let me speak further to my Lord, even though I am but dust and ashes. Suppose there are only 45 righteous people rather than 50. Will you destroy the whole city for lack of 5? And the Lord said, "I will not destroy it if I find 45 righteous people there." Then Abraham pressed his request further. "Suppose there are only 40. The Lord replied, "I will not destroy it for the sake of 40. "Please don't be angry, my Lord," Abraham pleaded. "Let me speak. Suppose only 30 righteous people are found." And the Lord replied, "I will not destroy it if I find 30. And then Abraham said, "Since I have dared to speak to you, the Lord, let me continue. Suppose there are only 20. And the Lord replied, "Then I will not destroy it for the sake of 20. Finally, Abraham said, "Lord, please don't be angry with me if I speak one more time. Suppose only 10 are found there." And the Lord replied, "Then I will not destroy it for the sake of 10. Then the Lord had finished his conversation with Abraham. He went on his way, and Abraham returned to his tent. One thought. A short time later, maybe 2 to 4 months, after God had confirmed his covenant with Abraham in Genesis 17, Abraham is visited by 3 men at Hebron. And it turns out that these visitors are God himself and two angels. At first, there is an exchange about Abraham's wife, Sarah, and they want to know where she is, and then they promise that Sarah will bear a child. Sarah laughs in disbelief about what they've said, but the Lord calls her out on that disbelief. Eventually, though, the three men turn their attention to Sodom as they look out around them. They're going to destroy the city because of its wickedness. But then God says something quite interesting in verses 17 and 18. He says, "Should I hide my plan from Abraham? For Abraham will certainly become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth will be blessed through him." So God reasons to himself, and should he hide his plan from Abraham? The answer is clearly no. But why? Well, it's because God is in covenant with Abraham. A covenant relationship demands integrity, openness, transparency in the context of faithfulness and loyal love. And so God willingly shares his plan with Abraham due to this covenant relationship. We see that Abraham is also quite open and bold with the Lord as well, interceding for the righteous who are in Sodom, asking God 6 times to spare the righteous. He whittles down the number of righteous that the Lord must find in the city to spare it. We see Abraham also acting as a priest here, and that brings up this idea that all the nations of the earth will be blessed through him. Abraham is pleading for the nations. And that is what God's people are to do as well. Abraham's intercession actually saves 2 foreign nations, the children of Lot, Moab and Ammon. Those are the people that come from Lot and his daughters, which were not conceived under the best of circumstances, but still 2 nations are saved because of Abraham's intercession. And so what we find now is Abraham is beginning to be a blessing to the other nations. And as the people of God in the New Testament connected to Jesus, the seed of Abraham, the blessing of Abraham, we also get to be a blessing to the nations as we go out and we share the good news of who Jesus is, and we meet real needs as the hands and feet of Jesus. We can be a blessing to the nations as well.